First contact gone wrong. Captain Maya Chen stood at the bridge viewport of the UES Horizon, watching as the massive alien vessel approached. The Corval ship was unlike anything humans had built, a crystalline structure that seemed to shimmer between states of matter, with geometric patterns that defied Earth's architectural principles. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally made contact with an advanced alien civilization, and Maya was leading the diplomatic mission. They're requesting permission to dock, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from the communications station. Maya straightened her uniform and nodded. Grant permission. Alert the diplomatic team. At 43, Maya had spent 2 decades in Earth's United Space Force. The scars on her face and the cybernetic replacement for her left eye were reminders of battles fought during the Mars insurrection. She wasn't a diplomat, she was a soldier. But the brass had insisted on military protocol for this first meeting, just in case. Their ship is adjusting, said Commander Okafor, Maya's second-in-command. Look at those configurations. The alien vessel was reshaping itself, extending a docking tube that perfectly matched the specifications of the Horizon's airlock. Specifications they couldn't possibly have known in advance. They've been watching us longer than we thought, Maya muttered. Keep security teams on standby, but weapons holstered. We don't want misunderstandings. The diplomatic team assembled in the main conference room. Scientists, linguists, and government representatives. Maya felt out of place among them, but orders were orders. When the airlock finally opened, everyone fell silent. The Corval entered in perfect formation. 6 identical beings moving in synchronized steps. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted color with their movements. Their faces featured 4 vertical slits instead of eyes, and their limbs moved with mechanical precision. Greetings, representatives of Earth. The leader spoke in perfect English, its voice resonating from somewhere within its torso. I am Supreme Commander Vex Toral of the Corval Imperium. We have observed your species for 37 of your years. The revelation sent murmurs through the human delegation. We welcome you, Supreme Commander, replied Ambassador Jackson, stepping forward. We come in peace and friendship. Maya watched the aliens carefully. Their scales rippled in patterns she couldn't decipher, but something about their rigid posture reminded her of military reviews. These weren't scientists or explorers. They were soldiers. Your species has potential, Vex Toral announced. The Corval Imperium spans 17 systems. We have brought order to chaos for millennia. You will be evaluated for compatibility. Ambassador Jackson faltered. I'm sorry, evaluated. Your species displays concerning characteristics, another Corval stated. Unpredictability, individualism, disorder. These are dangerous traits in the galactic community. Maya felt the atmosphere in the room change. This wasn't a diplomatic meeting. It was an inspection. With respect, she said, stepping forward despite protocol. Those traits have helped humanity survive and thrive. We value our differences as much as our similarities. The Corval turned to her, scales flashing crimson. You speak out of sequence, military unit. This demonstrates the problem. Maya's cybernetic eye automatically scanned the aliens, detecting unusual energy readings beneath their scales. I have a name, Captain Maya Chen. Designation is irrelevant. Function is paramount. Vex Toral replied. You will submit to assessment protocols. Those suitable will serve in the Imperium. Ambassador Jackson tried to salvage the situation. Perhaps we've misunderstood. We're seeking mutual cooperation, not submission. There is no misunderstanding, Vex Toral stated. The Corval bring order. Order requires hierarchy. Your species will find its place in our hierarchy or be deemed incompatible. Maya recognized the threat immediately. And if we're incompatible, then you are a disorder that must be corrected, Vex Toral answered without emotion. The meeting deteriorated from there. The Corval demanded complete access to Earth's data systems, colonial locations, and military capabilities, all under the guise of assessment. When Ambassador Jackson refused, the Corval departed without ceremony, their final message clear: prepare for classification or correction. 3 days later, the attacks began. Maya was reassigned to defend the colony of New Horizon, humanity's furthest outpost. Intelligence suggested it would be the Corval's first target. When she arrived, evacuation was already underway, but thousands of civilians remained. "They're coming in formation," reported Lieutenant Park, pointing to the tactical display. 3 war vessels, approaching from Vector 227. Maya studied the patterns. They're following standard military doctrine. Textbook approach vectors. "How can you know their standard doctrine?" Park asked. "I've been studying the footage from First Contact nonstop," Maya explained. "Everything about them is regimented, precise. Even their language patterns follow strict structures. The colony's defenses were minimal: 2 orbital platforms and a handful of interceptors. Against the Corval ships, they wouldn't last an hour. We can't win a direct confrontation," Maya told her command staff. "So we won't fight one." Instead of positioning their forces in the expected defensive pattern, Maya scattered them in an apparently random configuration. She placed drone decoys to create false readings and positioned their limited firepower to target very specific areas of the approaching Corval ships. "They'll see this as chaos," Commander Okafor warned. "Exactly," Maya nodded. "They despise chaos. Their minds are too regimented to understand it." When the Corval attacked, their approach was predictable: a 3-pronged assault designed to overwhelm the colony's defensive grid. But there was no grid to overwhelm, just scattered forces that made no tactical sense to the orderly Corval minds. "They're hesitating," Park reported. "Their formation is breaking." "Now," Maya ordered. The human forces fired not at the Corval ship's obvious weapon systems, but at seemingly random points identified by Maya's analysis of their hull configurations. The results were immediate. The crystalline structures began to vibrate irregularly, their perfect formations disrupted. "They're sending a transmission," Rodriguez announced. Vextoral's image appeared on screen. "This is not proper battle procedure. Your defensive configurations violate established combat protocols." Maya stepped forward, allowing herself a small smile. "We don't follow your protocols, Supreme Commander. Humans write our own." The Corval leader's scales flashed multiple colors in rapid succession, the equivalent of confusion or distress. "This is incorrect. You must reform your defenses according to strategic principles." "Is that an order or a request?" Maya asked, her smile growing. "Compliance is mandatory." Vextoral's voice resonated with new harmonics. Maya turned to her crew. "Continue random targeting patterns. Push into sectors 7 and 12. They're not even looking there." The Corval ships began to move erratically as their commanders struggled to respond to tactics that defied their understanding of warfare. One ship broke formation entirely, its crystalline structure pulsing with chaotic lights. "They're communicating with each other," Rodriguez reported. "Massive data exchanges. They're trying to develop a response by committee," Maya realized. "Their entire military structure is based on precedent and protocol. When those fail, they need consensus to establish new protocols." She turned to the tactical display. "While they're busy debating, target this junction on their command ship." She indicated a point where energy readings were strongest. The human weapons struck true. Vextoral's vessel shuddered, its perfect crystalline form developing fracture lines across one section. "Impossible." The alien commander's voice boomed through the communication system. "Your targeting capabilities cannot be sufficient without proper battle formations." Maya leaned toward the display, allowing her cybernetic eye to glow visibly. "A small psychological tactic. We're unpredictable, remember. That's why you fear us." The Corval ships suddenly pulled back, retreating to a safe distance. "They're regrouping," Okafor observed. "But why withdraw completely? They still outnumber us." Maya studied the tactical display. They need to recalibrate their entire approach. Their military doctrine has no contingency for what just happened. She turned to her crew. They'll be back with new protocols specifically designed to counter what we just did. So our trick only works once? Park asked. Maya's expression hardened. Then we need a new trick. Something they'll never expect. She pointed to the planet below. And I know exactly where to set the stage for our next encounter. As the Corval ships moved to a holding pattern, Maya called her officers together. The battle for New Horizon had only just begun, but humanity had scored its first victory, not through superior firepower or technology, but through the very unpredictability the Corval feared. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Maya felt a surge of hope. The Corval might have rules for everything, but humans were exceptionally good at breaking rules. Get me a direct line to Earth Command, she ordered. Tell them I know how to fight these aliens. And tell the colonists to hold tight. We are not giving up this planet without a fight. The unexpected victory. The Sang Ridge Valley on New Horizon was a natural bottleneck. Steep cliffs on both sides narrowing to a passage barely half a kilometer wide. It was here that Captain Maya Chen decided to make her stand against the returning Corval forces. Intelligence reported 3 times as many ships approaching as in the first attack. They've adapted their strategy, Lieutenant Park reported, pointing to holographic displays showing the Corval fleet's new formation. No longer using standard approach vectors. Maya nodded. They're learning, but they're still thinking like the Corval. The past week had been a frenzy of preparation. Every civilian with technical skills had been drafted into Maya's unconventional defense force. The colony's fabrication facilities had been repurposed to create Maya's surprises, devices that existed in no military manual. Report from the Ridge teams, Commander Okafor announced. All emplacements are ready. Maya surveyed the tactical map and the settlement. Evacuation is at 84%. The remaining transports arrive in 10 hours. Not enough time, Maya thought. The Corval would be here in 3. They're broadcasting. Rodriguez called from communications. A new Corval face appeared on the main screen, not Vextoral, but another commander with scales in deeper blues and purples. I am Battle Director Nex Kalin, the alien announced. Your previous engagement violated combat protocols. Such irregularities have been analyzed and countermeasures deployed. You will surrender this colony or face systematic elimination. Maya stepped forward. This is Captain Chen. We're not surrendering anything. Your designation is remembered, Captain Chen. Nex Kalin replied, scales shifting to a pattern Maya hadn't seen before. Your tactics have been catalogued. They will not succeed again. Maya smiled, a deliberate expression she knew the Corval found disturbing. We have more than one trick, Director Nex Kalin. The alien scales flashed rapidly. Your confidence is irrational. We have studied human military history extensively. All your strategies are known to us. History only tells you what we've done, Maya replied, not what we're capable of. The communication ended, and Maya turned to her team. They think they understand us now. That's exactly what we need. The Corval fleet approached with mathematical precision, but in a formation unlike any they used before, clearly designed to counter the scattered defense that had worked previously. Their ships had reconfigured, with defensive systems covering the vulnerabilities Maya had exploited. They expect us to repeat our previous approach, Maya told her officers, so we'll give them something completely different. As the Corval entered the upper atmosphere, they encountered no resistance, no orbital defenses, no interceptors. Sensors would show them the human forces concentrated in the valley below. They'll see this as a conventional last stand, Maya explained. Their doctrine will have clear protocols for crushing the cornered enemy. The Corval ships moved into position above the valley, their crystalline structures gleaming in the morning sunlight. From the forward observation post, Maya watched through tactical glasses as the massive vessels began to deploy ground forces, tall, armored versions of the Corval she'd met on the horizon, moving in perfect sync. "Ground teams report ready," Park said quietly. Maya nodded. "Tell them to wait for my signal." The Corval ground forces advanced in tight formation, weapons at the ready. Behind them, more troops deployed from the ships, thousands of identical soldiers moving as one. "They're sending a message," Rodriguez reported. "Audio only." "Put it through," Maya ordered. "Attention human defenders." Next Callan's voice resonated across the valley. "Your defensive position is surrounded. Your tactics have been analyzed. Surrender now for processing and classification." Maya stepped onto the observation platform, fully visible to the Corval forces below. She activated her suit's external speakers. "Director Nex Callan," she called out, her voice amplified across the valley. "Before we begin, I have a question." There was a pause. Then, "Questions are irrelevant. Surrender is the only acceptable response." "My question is simple," Maya continued. "Have you ever seen a human laugh in battle?" Without waiting for a response, Maya did something no military manual would ever recommend. She laughed. Not a nervous chuckle or defiant shout, but a genuine, hearty laugh that echoed throughout the valley. The Corval forces below froze. Their perfect formation halted as if struck by an invisible wall. "Now," Maya whispered into her comm. Across the valley, hundreds of devices activated simultaneously. Not weapons, at least not conventional ones. Sound emitters began broadcasting a cacophony of noises. Music, laughter, random conversations, animal sounds, all at different rhythms and volumes. Light projectors activated, casting swirling patterns across the valley floor and onto the Corval troops. The effect was immediate. The Corval soldiers began to move erratically, their formations breaking apart as their sensitive sensory systems were overwhelmed by the chaotic input. "They process information collectively," Maya had explained during planning. "Their neural systems are linked through those scales. It's how they maintain such perfect coordination. But it also means they can't filter information individually." Now the Corval troops were experiencing sensory overload, their collective consciousness unable to process the deliberately chaotic stimuli. From hidden positions throughout the valley, human defenders emerged, not in military formation, but in seemingly random patterns, some wearing brightly colored civilian clothes, others in partial uniforms, all moving independently rather than as coordinated units. Physical engagement initiated, Okafor reported as the human forces began their attack. Maya watched as her people targeted specific points on the Corval armor, connections between plates where their scales were exposed. Not killing shots, but disruptors that interfered with the aliens' collective communication system. Above, the Corval ships began to move, attempting to provide support to their ground forces. But they faced their own problems as drone swarms, cobbled together from mining equipment and atmospheric samplers, swarmed around them, broadcasting the same chaotic signals as the ground emitters. "Incoming transmission," Rodriguez announced. Next Callan's image appeared, scales flashing rapid patterns of crimson and black. "This is not warfare. This is madness. This is humanity," Maya replied calmly. "We don't follow your rules. You must cease these irregular tactics immediately." The Corval commanded, but Maya could hear something new in its voice. Uncertainty. "Why?" she asked simply. "Because they're working." The battle below had become entirely one-sided. The Corval troops, unable to maintain their collective consciousness amid the sensory assault, had devolved into individuals, and as individuals, they had no training, no experience in making independent decisions. Some froze in place, others moved in circles, a few even began attacking their own comrades in confusion. "We're not trying to kill you," Maya continued. "We could have bombarded your positions from orbit. We could have deployed biological agents your species has no immunity against. We didn't. We're just showing you what happens when you try to force humanity into your neat orderly boxes." On the largest Corval ship, a new signal appeared. a direct transmission from Supreme Commander Vex Toral itself. Captain Chen, the alien leader's voice was subdued. This method of warfare is unknown to us. That's the point, Maya replied. Humans specialize in the unknown. We thrive on it. The valley had fallen eerily quiet as the Corval ground forces had either been neutralized or retreated in confusion. The ships above remained in position, but their weapons systems had powered down. Your species was categorized as a minor threat, Vex Toral admitted. This assessment was incorrect. Maya stepped closer to the edge of the platform. We don't want to be a threat at all. We want to be neighbors, partners even, but as equals, not subjects. There was a long pause before Vex Toral responded. Equality is not a concept within Corval understanding. There is above, and there is below. Then maybe it's time for a new understanding, Maya suggested. Your rigid hierarchy makes you strong in some ways, but weak in others. Today showed you that. Another pause, longer this time. When Vex Toral spoke again, its voice carried new harmonics. The Corval have not encountered a species like yours in 8,000 years. The last such encounter changed us fundamentally. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. What happened to them? They became the Corval, Vex Toral replied. Before their influence, we were rigid crystalline entities without higher consciousness. They gave us sentience, mobility, purpose. The revelation stunned Maya. You mean you were? We were transformed by chaos agents similar to yourselves. Vex Toral confirmed. It is why we fear your kind. We remember our transformation. The Corval ships began to withdraw, rising slowly back into the upper atmosphere. This engagement is concluded, Vex Toral announced. A reassessment is required. As the alien vessels retreated, cheers erupted from the human forces throughout the valley. Maya remained silent, watching the crystalline ships until they disappeared from view. Captain, Commander Okafor approached. Earth Command is requesting a report. Maya turned from the observation platform. Tell them we won. For now. For now, Okafor questioned. They'll be back, Maya said quietly. But not as conquerors, I think. As something else. 3 days later, as the final evacuation transports prepared to depart, a single Corval vessel returned, smaller than their warships, clearly a diplomatic craft. It settled gently outside the colony perimeter, and a single Corval emerged. Not Vex Toral or Nexcalin, but a new representative whose scales shimmered with patterns Maya hadn't seen before. I am Cultural Interface Zexmiral, the alien announced as Maya met it at the landing site. I come to learn. Maya raised an eyebrow. Learn what? Disorder, the Corval replied. Unpredictability. Laughter. It paused, its scales shifting through complex patterns. The Imperium has determined that understanding humanity is preferable to eliminating it. Maya allowed herself a small smile. That's the most sensible thing any of you have said since we met. The alien scales rippled in what might have been agreement. The Supreme Commander has a message for you specifically, Captain Chen. I'm listening. Your battle tactic, laughter in the face of superior force, has been added to the Corval military archives, Zexmiral stated. It is the first new entry in 3,000 years. Maya couldn't help herself. She laughed again, a genuine expression of surprise and amusement. The Corval's scales immediately shifted to a bright, alert pattern. Like that, it said with something approaching wonder in its mechanical voice. We must understand that. As the sun set over New Horizon Colony, Captain Maya Chen began what would become humanity's true first contact with the Corval, not as enemies, not as superior and inferior species, but as two civilizations with something to learn from each other. And it had all started with a laugh.